Takata's recall nightmare, why lawmakers and car companies are wrapping up pressure on the supplier. In today's cover story, medical records could soon be headed to the cloud, why that has some insiders nervous. Plus, bonds versus stocks, how to strike a balance between the two in your portfolio, and why a tech winner could soon find itself on the losing end of a legal battle. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Angela Miles. It's Wednesday, December 3rd. In our first look on the rise, the Dow closes at a record high for the 32nd time this year. Better than expected data on cars and construction spurred on the investor buying spree. The Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 all gained ground yesterday. Gold lost some shine, falling $20 per ounce, and oil is trading just above $67 per barrel. Puma is one to watch today. Shares plunged last night on where the biotech is delaying plans to file for a new drug application for its breast cancer treatment. The stock fell 17%. Here's a great way to start our day. Larry Shover of SFG Alternatives is with us for his look at the stock market and more. Good morning to you, Larry.
Good morning.
And we have big economic news coming in at the end of the week with the jobs number as well as the ECB meeting on Thursday. What do you think the market action will look like leading into those events?
Well, looking at yesterday's action, just stabilized right now. People just seem like it's consensus that the wage market was going to continue to get stronger, that the Fed's going to, raise rates middle of next year, and that the ECB will announce something that, hey, we can't do something today, but if things don't work out, we are ready and able to do so.
As the stock market heads higher, what are your energy plays as oil goes lower?
I look at some of the banks that are exposed in a huge way to the energy market, and one that comes to mind is Comerica, CMA. Been around for a long time, and anytime there's some type of energy debacle, they've done a very good job and gone through it very well with hedging. The stock's down about 8%. I think it's a good buy.
What about the power of the dollar? Has that been a great trade for traders?
Yes, it has. And I think, believe it or not, it's going to continue to next year. When you consider that you have Japan, you have the ECB, both going in a different direction with monetary policy than the U.S., I think it's not fully priced in, and the U.S. dollar will continue to trudge higher in 2015.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Buckets of rain are coming down in California. The state is attempting to recover from severe drought. Bernie Rayno of AccuWeather has his eyes on the downpour. Good morning, Bernie.
Yeah, and the worst of the rain is now over, but it was much needed rain. Anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain across all of California, Southern California getting in on the rain as well. Unfortunately, when you get this kind of rain, you're going to have some problems with some flash flooding. We did see that, but all in all, this was a positive storm for rain. We need dozens more to end this drought.
Let's hope that happens. Thank you, Bernie. Chuck Coppola joins me now with more news headlines. Good morning.
Angie, House lawmakers are considering a symbolic vote on immigration. It comes as lawmakers are under pressure to pass a government funding bill. Sources say the GOP could try to pass short-term funding for the Department of Homeland Security. House lawmakers could wait until they have control of both chambers of Congress to fully fund the department in hopes of having more leverage in the immigration debate.
We're looking at a variety of options, both for right now and when Republicans control both houses of the Congress next year.
Yesterday, in a House hearing on immigration, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, called the president's immigration action common sense.
My hope is that these executive actions are sustained as good government policy.
Congress must pass a funding bill to avoid a government shutdown by December 11th.
It's official. Russia is headed for recession, and the country is admitting it for the first time ever. The Russian government predicts the economy will contract by 0.8% in 2015. The nation is reeling from economic sanctions by the U.S. and Eurozone leaders in reaction to Russia's strong stance on Ukraine. Plus, Russia's currency is now trading at an all-time low against the dollar. The country was also counting on exporting oil that was trading around $100 per barrel. It's now dropped below $70.
A massive power outage hits Detroit, knocking electricity out for most public buildings. A cable failure at 10:30 yesterday morning triggered the outage, sending at least 1,000 sites into darkness, according to the Detroit Free Press. Police departments, fire stations, prisons, and schools, as well as traffic lights were affected. Several fire stations, as well as the city's hospitals, operated on generator power.
In corporate America, CEOs could be getting ready to go on a hiring spree. In a survey of CEO Economic Outlook for the fourth quarter, 40% of chief execs said they plan to hire more employees in the next 6 months. 74% expect sales to grow from last quarter. However, about 13% said they plan to invest less in new facilities or equipment.
Apple finds itself in the midst of a courtroom drama. Opening statements began yesterday in a class action lawsuit dating back to 2006. The plaintiffs accuse Apple of violating antitrust laws by shutting out competition with an early version of its iPod. Lawyers say an update from Apple made it so that customers could not listen to music downloaded from competitors. Apple denies wrongdoing, and yesterday a jury saw videotaped deposition of the late Steve Jobs, Apple's CEO, done just 6 months before his death. Tech analyst Rob Enderle explains why Apple could face a challenge in this case.
And I think the problem is because you won't be able to cross, that the plaintiff will be able to make Steve Jobs seem disingenuous. So I think it's going to be a problem.
After a big drop earlier this week, Apple's stock was little changed on the news yesterday. It dropped just 44 cents, currently trading just above $114.
In a surprising move, the CEO of Christie's auction house steps down. Stephen Murphy says he wanted to go on a high note. High note indeed. Murphy's departure follows a profitable stretch for Christie's. The auction house set a record this year by selling $850 million worth of contemporary art in just 2 hours. The top executive at rival Sotheby's was ousted just 3 weeks ago.
Hackers are on the hunt for market-moving information. Cybersecurity firm FireEye says U.S. hackers are targeting emails of top executives in more than 100 publicly traded companies. FireEye says the hackers want information to gain an edge in stock trading. No specific company names were released, but FireEye did disclose that the companies targeted were mostly big pharma or healthcare companies.
Investors are piling into shares of Biogen Idec. Shares rose more than 6% yesterday. The biotech company revealed at the Deutsche Bank BioFest conference there are encouraging results from a phase 1B study of its Alzheimer's treatment. While the drug is still in the very early stages, Biogen plans to aggressively start a phase 3 study.
In our cover story, the Affordable Care Act's mandate to convert paper records to electronic files has some medical providers leapfrogging to the cloud for where to store medical images and other information on patients. But it all comes with additional concern about whether the information is secure, creating a new business in medicine. The number of companies at the intersection of information technology and healthcare is growing with the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. And not surprisingly, security has become a key selling point. At this week's Radiological Society of North America's annual meeting, SureMD, a cloud-based storage provider for medical records launched 3 months ago, practically guarantees that insurance companies, for one, cannot hack into its data. Big concern among patients with severe illness.
They might not, provide them or accept their insurance policy or give them a very high premium.
With three-dimensional CT scans taking up to 100 times more storage space than an MRI, Lee says $300 a year could provide a 3-doctor clinic with enough storage for all their patients' medical records.
This is my X-ray.
Mohammed Shura takes patient empowerment a step further, allowing patients to compile their own medical files accessible from their smartphone.
We would like to have our images in our pocket in case, there is something, because it might take 1 day or maybe a few hours and you have an accident and they need immediate access to your records.
Shura's Massachusetts-based Paxaramed is another IT and healthcare crossover. Its more than 2,000 clients helped it earn $5 million in annual sales last year. Even medical imaging's newspaper, AntMini.com, named for an expression among radiologists, scrubs all patient identification and shares anonymous information as teaching tools available 24/7, not just at academic conferences. Can sharing information reduce medical expenses? By that I mean, can it reduce the number of redundant tests?
I believe that it can. The tool that we're using is not really designed to do that. It's more for a radiologist to share with a colleague. But I believe that anytime you're reducing duplication, you're reducing cost.
Also at the intersection of IT and healthcare, a new job category, health informatics. Among the positions, nurse informatics specialists trained in IT and software systems to collect health information, and the health informatics director, an executive level position charged with implementing data across all departments and divisions.
Takata executives are still resisting the urgent call by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to expand the recall of its faulty airbags. Today, a top official from the Japanese airbag maker will be grilled at a House panel hearing on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers have also been urging aggressive recall action. At least 5 people have been killed by flying metal from airbags that inflate with too much force in older model cars. Toyota and several other automakers are now setting up an airbag investigation.
It's Christmas in November for automakers as sales hit the best pace since 2003. General Motors saw an uptick of 6.5%. Chrysler Group sales jumped 20.1%. Toyota sales a bit more sluggish, but still up 3%. Ford reported a decline of 1.8%, but that was no more than what analysts had expected. According to Kelsey Mays of Cars.com, a big driver of the sales was those low gas prices.
The lower gas prices obviously played hugely into this. Small SUVs had a big month. Small SUVs like the Toyota RAV4, Ford Escape, Honda CR-V, you threw them all together, and sales for that segment were up about 20% overall.
Total November vehicle sales were 1.3 million. That's up 4.6% when compared to a year ago. Analysts had expected a number closer to 1.27 million.
The RV industry is well on the road to recovery. Sales of recreational vehicles hit the brakes during the financial crisis, but now the industry watchers say sales are likely to rise 4% next year. It marks the 5th straight yearly gain.
Chicago workers are on the road to more money. The Windy City becomes the latest to raise the minimum wage. Yesterday, the City Council voted for an increase to $10 per hour next year and $13 per hour by 2019. The move was supported by Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. However, Illinois Governor-elect Bruce Rauner warns that the increase could make Chicago less competitive.
Checking the economic calendar for today, it's the MBA Mortgage Index, ADP Employment Change, Productivity, ISM Services, Crude Inventories, and the Fed's Beige Book. On the earnings calendar, Abercrombie & Fitch, Guess, Aeropostale, PVH, and New York & Company. Lots of retailers still to come. What the e-commerce craze means for brick and mortar this holiday season. Plus, one financial planner says don't swear off stocks just because you've been burned. And why big players on Wall Street are signaling trouble.
The pace of hedge fund demise picks up steam in 2014. If the current pace continues, more than 1,000 funds will shut down this year, the most since 2009, when 1,023 funds went under. According to industry research firm HFR, total hedge fund assets have increased this year, adding $190 billion worth of capital. But those that have failed generally bet on macroeconomic trends or commodities.
Hedge funds are not alone in getting burned by the stock market. It can happen to anyone. Joining us on set this morning, James Brewer of Envision Wealth Planning. Good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Well, the idea is to buy low and sell high, but I know a lot of Americans out there who have been burned by the stock market. They now fear putting money to work in stocks. What have you seen out there?
I've actually seen the very same thing. Many times people buy a fund, it's got a really nice name, and I say, well, what actually is in that fund? And sometimes they think it sounds like it's of America, but yet it's got all kinds of international, could have a hedge fund. They have no idea.
And then they get burned.
Yes.
So what is your strategy as a financial planner? What are you telling your clients to do in this environment that we have going right now with the stock market going higher and bond yields struggling?
Well, one of the things I tell everyone is, first, let's figure out how much money you need at the end of the rainbow. I use a strategy that says, let's calculate the savings, what kind of risk or asset allocation you need, and the time. Once we have that, then we can come back to figure out what should the investing strategy be.
What are you telling your clients now about bonds? Because people see that as a safe haven, but there's almost no return in some cases here.
I think we really like the name safe haven. But historically, if you're going to get return out of something, there's got to be some risk. But the question should be, where should your risk be? Personally, I believe that the risk should be more on the stock or equity side. There's research that shows historically that's where you're going to get some really good returns. And that if you look at potentially, short-term government bonds or some other types of bonds that simply actually get rid of the volatility, then long-term I find that more people are comfortable with that somewhat predictable pattern of returns.
Got it. So heavier on the stocks right now, a little bit lighter on the bonds, but you still need them to smooth everything out.
Yes, yes.
Good to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
And thank you again.
Coming up, are traders feeling moody about some retailers that appeal to teenagers? And after the break, what Walmart did to break a record this week. Stay with us. Cyber Monday was a huge hit with Walmart shoppers. The world's largest retailer says a record-breaking number of customers placed orders online. 70% of the web traffic came from shoppers using mobile devices. Walmart shares are up 9% for the year. Bill Mueller has more on consumer Christmas trends.
Consumer buying habits are a rather fickle thing, you know. Analysts were rather surprised that the much ballyhooed Black Friday of last week was not the sales binge of previous years. And then Cyber Monday of this week, it came in ahead of expectations. Well, here we are now in the midst of the most important retail shopping month of the year. So what are the consumer shopping trends that will be playing out in the weeks ahead? Morningstar, the investment research and management company, they've pegged 3 trends. Bridget Weishauer is an equity analyst for Morningstar, and number 1 on your list is heavy promotion.
Absolutely, and I think you started to see that already. The discounting started even earlier this year, about a week or 2 ahead of Black Friday, and I think that's part of the reason that Black Friday was so weak, is that some of those sales shifted forward a bit.
And it's not just ads on TV. I get tweets, I get emails, billboards, everything but a megaphone to tell me about the deals.
Yes, they're hitting you in every way, shape, or form. I think mobile devices are a really growing way to reach out to consumers, and the number of emails and tweets you get are huge.
And now they're also, here's number 2, multiple categories in competition. Apparel may be dethroned as king.
It might be. You know, in the past you saw apparel and toys. Those were the go-to categories, but now you have a lot of other things competing for their place. The biggest one being tech. I think you're going to see a lot of iPad sales, a lot of iPhone sales, and then all of the tech accessories that go along with it, the covers and such.
And number 3 on your list is convenience, which is highly prized by consumers, and I guess that's Advantage e-commerce.
Exactly. People not only want to shop whenever they want, at whatever store they want, now they're also demanding quicker delivery speeds and being able to do it just from the comfort of their home and not having to carry all those packages back. So e-commerce is probably going to be another big winner this year.
You also, Bridget, took a look at some of the companies taking advantage of these trends.
Right, and the 2 that I would highlight are both TJX and Amazon. Amazon is perfectly positioned to gain that e-commerce trend. They're still gaining market share, we think, from the other competitors. They offer a broad selection of items at a very fair price point. It's an easy-to-use device. With 1 click, you can have it shipped to your house in no time at all. So that's a big winner. The second would be TJ Maxx, which is a value offering. Again, they carry home goods, they carry giveable gifts, they carry apparel, all at a discounted price point, a real popular place to shop right now.
Bridget Weishauer, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bill, Radio Shack needs a Christmas miracle. A key lender may be trying to back out of a loan it issued to the electronics retailer. Radio Shack nearly ran out of cash last summer, but was given a cash infusion from a hedge fund. Radio Shack CEO is still fighting to save the company. Still ahead, what a trader has to say about the retailers that are riding the wave of teen angst. It's just ahead in Chart Talk. Alan Eckman of Bullseye Options joins us now for a closer look at a couple of stocks that may have a case of teen angst. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, Angie. Well, teenagers are obviously hard to predict, as are their shopping patterns. If you look at Abercrombie, having some earnings here this morning, it's a stock trading around $28, and the at-the-money option straddle had priced in about a 6% measured move, and it may be positive from all the other technical factors that I've been looking at.
So if you take a look at the broader retail sector, how is Abercrombie doing compared to the S&P 500, let's say?
Well, it's more of a buy from a risk-reward standpoint. Down here on its lows, it made some new lows here at $28 a share. 30 had been a support level for the last 5 years, 2010, 2012, 2013, and 2014, until this sell-off. You're also seeing some bullish divergence, meaning new lows in the stock, but not new highs in volatility. So that's all a positive. If you compare it to retail in general, retail's up about 5% so far this year, compared to the S&P up 12%. A&F has really been lagging, but could be a laggard opportunity.
What about American Eagle? That also tends to be a retailer that caters to 20-somethings and teens.
very much the same situation there. Now that's bounced off its lows. 10 has been its lows over the last couple of years and actually had a double bottom here in the summertime at that $10 level. Right now that stock is trading between 15 and 12, stuck at about 14. If it does break out to the upside, that target's 18. So I do like that from a value standpoint, and it has a 4.5% dividend, which is something that's interesting. You wouldn't think about it in a fashion stock.
Alan Luckman with some teen spirit for us this morning. Thank you, Alan. Well, that's a wrap for now. Coming up tomorrow, find out if Sony will be hurt or helped by hackers who leaked a number of films online before heading to the silver screen. From all of us at First Business, have a wonderful Wednesday.